Now, the comedian Steve Coogan making the headlines this morning because he's avoided a lengthy driving ban after telling a court it would stop him from being able to film a new series of Alan Partridge. He was caught driving his Porsche at 36 miles per hour in a 30 zone near his home. That's 3 more points on his licence. He was already on 9. Well, rather than a 6-month ban, he was given a 2-month ban and a fine of just under £1,000. Nick Freeman is a criminal defence lawyer specialising in motoring law. He's also known as Mr. Loophole. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Claire.
Well, I'm sure you've seen the response, the comments from people on social media. The majority are saying this simply isn't fair. It is all because he's on TV.
Well, they couldn't. I haven't seen the comments on social media, but the people who made those comments couldn't be further from the truth. It's not really about the defendant in this case. The reason he wasn't disqualified is because there would be exceptional hardship, not in relation to him, but in relation to the innocent victims who would lose their employment as a consequence of his disqualification. Apparently, he's got a new series that he's about to start, and he needs to drive for that series. If he lost that contract, it wouldn't cause him exceptional hardship because obviously he has the means so that he would be able to pay all his bills, etc., etc. But for the people who are working on the project, and I think there was somewhere between 11 and 14, they would lose their contracts, and that would cause them severe hardship. And it's for that reason they're the innocent victims.
So this
when there are innocent victims, it's often far more persuasive than the defendant himself because they've done nothing wrong, and they, in reality, will be the people who suffer. So that is why he hasn't been disqualified for the full period of time. Nothing more complicated.
So this has nothing at all to do with the fact that he's a celebrity?
No, absolutely not. It's simply, it could be the case that somebody, a person who works in a shop, a retail shop, he would lose his job, and he might own the business, but the other people, the employees of the business, might be adversely affected. And similarly, exceptional hardship would be found under those circumstances. So it's nothing at all to do with his celebrity status. It's purely as a consequence of the innocent victims who would be affected. That's why he's been disqualified for a lesser period. I mean, the magistrate is significant because he's actually been disqualified for 2 months, which is over 56 days. And what that means is, if he falls foul of these provisions again during a 3-year period, the minimum mandatory period of disqualification he will serve will be 12 months and not 6. And it's important to remember that he can't argue this exceptional hardship again during a 3-year period. But as I say, it's just purely because of the innocent victims and nothing to do with the defendant himself.
And is this type of judgment common for people like you and I, people who don't have his type of profile?
It's nothing to do with profile. That's a red herring. It's an irrelevance. It's very easy for people to latch on and say, oh, well, because he's well known, that's why he's been given preferential treatment. He hasn't. It's the law of the land, and the law of the land says that you will be disqualified for a minimum period of 6 months when you get 12 points, unless there is exceptional hardship on the balance of probabilities. And if that exceptional hardship relates to other people who would be affected, then the court has a discretion not to disqualify, or to disqualify for a lesser period, or to disqualify for however it wants. And what it's done here is saying, well, there is exceptional hardship in relation to these innocent victims, so we will disqualify him for a lesser period. And what the court has tried to do is say, right, we're going to give you more than 56 days, so you be very careful. You fall foul of these provisions again, and you're looking at a 12-month ban and not a 6-month ban.
Because this isn't a first for him, is it? He's a self-confessed driving enthusiast. He's been caught speeding more than once. I mean, at what point does enough become enough?
Claire, that's not a crime to be a self-confessed motoring enthusiast. There's nothing wrong with that.
But it is to be caught speeding.
Yeah, he wasn't going particularly fast. I'm not condoning that at all. What I'm saying,
he was breaking the speed limit.
He was breaking the speed limit. He did it 4 times. I believe it was 4 times. That's how he's got to 12 points. Apparently he's pleaded guilty. He hasn't sought to escape. He hasn't sought to test the procedures in any way. All he's doing is availing himself of the law of the land, which applies to you, me, and everybody else. And he's perfectly entitled to do that.
Nick Freeman, great to talk to you this morning. Nick Freeman there, criminal defence lawyer specialising in motoring law.